3, 2, 1.
Racing World is presented by Race Control Magazine.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Racing World. There's plenty in the show today. I'm kind of by myself today because Bob had to go out of town on business and it's very much an IndyCar show, so I kind of thought, well, I'll let him off for the day and take care of matters so he doesn't really get bored with the IndyCar stuff and he can focus on the Formula One stuff for next week. As for Darcy, well, he's gone bush somewhere, but we'll catch up with him in coming shows and we'll be joining our friends across the Tasman as well to talk Supercar. So folks, look out, we're coming for you very shortly. Show's got a great lineup for you today, lots and lots of things in it. Once again, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to either watch this on YouTube or listen to us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Makes a huge difference to us. It gives us an idea that people really are watching what we're doing and makes me be a little bit more creative and find new ideas for the show as well. Either that or bore you to death. But anyway, here's what's on the show today.
Well, thanks, David. It looks like a really great show again today. First up, it's the latest motorsport news. And then you get to chat with two young Kiwis turning heads in the Road to Indy series. After that, it's a look back at last week's Indy Grand Prix. And a chance to hear from many of the drivers that make up the series, including an all-new pole winner and race winner. It's certainly another great lineup today. Only on Racing World.
Well, it's a great lineup, very Kiwi focused, very Indy focused as well. So we'll get into that very shortly, but let's just do a few news points that have come up during the week because there's been a bit of news out there. First one, Formula One, no Canadian Grand Prix this year. Unfortunately called off for the second year in a row. Very strict COVID conditions in Canada. Flyaway race doesn't make it easy. Montreal, one of the great races of the calendar, certainly liked by everyone. Very great circuit. It's been the hallmark for many, many things over the year, but unfortunately Formula One won't be going back there. Talk now of a triple header weekend of racing for Formula One. Calendar's been rejigged a little bit. I'm sure that we'll see another evolution of that in the coming days and we'll report the calendar updates for you. Whilst talking Canada, sadly IndyCar also affected and won't be going to the street race in Toronto mid-season. Very big shame for that. Exhibition place downtown Toronto's a fantastic circuit, fantastic vibe, being so close to the city. I went there for, I think, what was the second ever Champ Car race a long time ago. And just a truly great venue, very drivable from the US if you live in those upper eastern states. Certainly not out of the realm to be able to go up there. And one that's liked by all the teams. But again, COVID, we're not over it yet. So unfortunately, no Grand Prix in Toronto this year, but IndyCar looking at a rejig, maybe a double header at Road America's been rumoured, maybe a new track in there, or maybe it'll get dropped altogether. I've got a feeling that we'll see that announcement come out within the next 2 weeks while everyone's at Indianapolis, because you tend to get announcements around this Indy 500 period, so we'll watch out for that. Back to Formula One, other great news, of course, Mclaren coming out with we won't really call it a retro livery for Monaco Grand Prix, teamed up with Golf. Just absolutely stunning livery. The merchandise is stunning as well, if you can afford it. Zach, don't forget, maybe you could send us some. Just a really great look. It'd be great to see the car at Monaco in that livery. They've done a great job, and that was obviously the announcement that was in the wind. Little quirky thing with McLaren at the moment. Daniel Ricciardo this week came out saying that he wouldn't mind having a crack in an Indy car. Meanwhile, you've got Pagenaud Award, who's been promised his test drive in a Formula One car. So Daniel better kind of watch what he says here, because he could suddenly find himself in an Indy car next year when Pato goes to McLaren Formula One. Just kidding, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Other Kiwis offshore this week. Jackson Evans, phenomenal job in Porsche Super Cup in Europe. With a race win and a round win, just fantastic. Jackson, a pedigree of the Elite Motorsport Academy a few years back, and also from Andy Mclaren racing on the Gold Coast in Australia. Andy bringing them up through the early stages of Porsche racing. And as we know, Andy's son Hunter is currently in Pro 2000 on the road to Indy. So drivers that come out of that Mclaren stable, they've certainly got the right mixture in them, and they know what they're doing. And Andy's has success with other drivers in Europe. So once again, it says a lot to what Mclaren Racing does in the US. US to Australia to Europe. You know what I mean? It's just great stuff. Other big news, really, probably from around New Zealand was Rally Whangarei held over the weekend, 2-day rally, and then the night stage on the Friday night, of course, but bit of a carnage fest. So we're 2 rallies into the NZRC for the season, and it's taken its toll on cars, that's for sure. The biggest notable one at Whangarei was Jack Hawkswood's crash. I've watched it a few times on his Facebook page. Caught the edge of a driveway of all things on the stage, hit it very fast, multiple rolls down a bank. The car, AP4 car, looking very, very, very second-hand, if at all repairable. So great shame to see that, but great testimony to the strength of the AP4 roll cage. Jack and co-driver perfectly fine. We're talking straight away as soon as the car came to a rest. So, very sad to see, but very pleasing to see the fact that no one was injured or anything in an incident like that. There were a few other rollovers and bits and pieces at Whangarei, so it certainly was a pretty testing rally for everybody. That's kind of the local news, and now we're staying local and we're going to feature 2 young Kiwis on the rise in the Road to Indy program. Billy Fraser and Peter Verdonovich, both out of Auckland, Pukekohe and Auckland itself. Both the Elite Motorsport Academy a few years back, following in the footsteps of someone who went through there a year or so earlier with Hunter McElaren, who's now in Pro 2000. These guys are in USF 2000, the first rung of the Road to Indy ladder. They've done a great job. Billy's path to get there via Formula First, Formula Ford, and then with the TRS car at the New Zealand Grand Prix over the summer was Peter. He kind of started out in sim racing of all things, and then did some 2K Cup, Sanyong Racing Series, Toyota 86, and has great crew around him. So they both come from slightly different directions, but they've ended up running parallel with each other, and now they're both in USF 2000. And just yesterday I was lucky to catch up with both of them at their residences in Brownsburg and Westfield, Indiana, and welcome them both to the show. Righto, well, we're on it here on Racing World now to talk to 2 young Kiwis that are just turning the world upside down in the US right now in F2000, Billy Fraser and Peter Vodanovich. Just awesome to have you both on the show. Welcome to the show, Billy and Peter.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I've been a fond supporter of both of you since you went through the Motorsport Elite Academy, which now seems like a lifetime ago. And here you are both in the US, and I'm stuck back down here as well, where I should be up there with you guys.
Yeah, you got space on my couch, David, if you'd like it.
Well, just be careful. I might take you up on that offer. I've had my COVID shot and everything, so we'll be good to go. First of all, guys, well done on even getting to the US and getting into the Road to Indy program and USF 2000. I guess start with you, Peter. How's it gone? Like it's just such a steep curve, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely expected it to be a challenge, and it certainly has turned out to be, a difficult step. But I'm learning a lot in every round, and even out of a race weekend at Pitford, and doing plenty of training off the track as well with the team, discussing things with the engineer. But unfortunately, we've gotten off to a bit of a rocky start with a few mechanical issues, but we've showed some, promising results in the few rounds we have had. So yeah, just keep pressing on and looking forward to the rest of the season.
Oh, well done. And Billy, how have you found it? It's a big dip, and you've had a variety of circuits so far as well.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest thing for me has been the lifestyle change. Obviously, last year I finished school, and then I've been shipped off to the other side of the world, which is pretty exciting. Living with myself for the first time. I've got my Russian roommate Artem as well to live with. But it's all the little things as well. It's the cooking, deciding what you want to do throughout the day. But yeah, on track, I've had a best place of 4th at St. Petersburg, and that was awesome. It's exceeded my expectations. So the exclusive Autosport team's been great in helping me settle in. So yeah, we've got I think 2 weeks till our next round at Lucas Oil Raceway, which is the first time on the oval, and yeah, can't wait for that.
Well, didn't we teach you guys at the Elite Academy on how to cook and stuff?
Yeah.
We did do a little bit for sure, but definitely don't know how good we ended up after it. But yeah, we're trying.
Mind you,
Sure.
you're both in the land of the bad fast food now, so you stay away from that stuff and don't do a Dixon and go anywhere near Taco Bell.
Once, I've only had it once so far.
Look at the season, boys. You know, you've had the opening round at Barber, which is an amazing circuit. I've been lucky enough to be there, and you know, it's actually a very tricky track, as you both well know now. You know, a great facility. And then suddenly you're at St. Pete, which I've been to as well, which is like a concrete canyon, really. And then you've got the big wide, runway for the main straight. Then the IMS road course just this last weekend, which is, phenomenal because you're inside the grounds of the mighty Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then, the next one on the card is the small oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, and your first attempt for both of you on an oval as well. So it's a mixture of circuits, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, to be honest, there's nothing quite like Barber or anything like that in New Zealand. So, definitely have to adapt the driving a little bit because it's just, the street track, especially St. Pete, it just requires a completely different approach. And you've really got to be disciplined because obviously when you hit the wall, it bites hard. So, definitely a different, completely different range of tracks, and really looking forward to getting on the oval in a few weeks as well. It'll be super cool.
Billy, you've been to Lucas Oil. It's not far from where you were living in Brownsburg. And it's only 15 minutes from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a very interesting little place, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty excited for the next round, but my season so far, it's been quite unique in the sense where we had so much testing going into Barber. We had the spring training there, we had some private testing there, and that emulated to really, really close times throughout the first round. And then we jump to the second round where we get 20 minutes going into St. Pete practice, and then you're straight into qualifying and straight into racing. So you've had the first round, you've had plenty of time to prepare for, and then you're straight into the streets of St. Pete. And round 3 was quite cool. It was a bit of back to normality where you had 3 races, you had 3 test sessions. So you kind of got back to normal. And going into Lucas Oil, I think you get 2 practice sessions, but the key thing there is the qualifying layout. You get 1 warm-up lap, you get 2 flying laps, and they take your average lap time of that. So it's one thing getting used to qualifying over here, especially having 28 cars. It's been very, very close. And the biggest thing I've learned so far is just you have to maximize qualifying, because I think Pete and me, we're great race car drivers, but it's just it's always that little bit harder when you're starting a bit further back than you'd like to.
Well, I know your compatriot Hunter McElroy in Pro 2000. I was lucky enough to be with him when he made his debut on the oval at Lucas Oil, and he also worked out how you can white wall a tyre. So there's some lessons ahead. But the other question I've got for you: how have you guys been getting around the country? Like, obviously, it's a trip down to Alabama, to Florida, back up in Indianapolis. Are you doing it as commercial flights, or are you driving? Pete?
So I actually bought a old 1998 Lexus off my mechanic for $1,000. I was driving Billy around in it the other day. It doesn't even have a speedo on it at the moment, so I need to sort that out. But it does the job for just getting around and getting to Pitford and stuff like that. But usually when heading further along, don't quite trust that car to get me there, so we usually fly with the team or drive with the team.
And Billy, what's for New Zealanders that are watching this particularly, what's it been like with the COVID situation? Things have changed here in New Zealand, but we're still seeing various things around the world. But obviously now you don't need to have a mask in the US if you've been vaccinated. Yeah,
exactly. And it's I take COVID, like everyone's got their own opinion on it, which is something I try to avoid, particularly in sort of the US political environment and stuff like that. But I'm doing my own thing, so I'll always be wearing my mask when I'm out and about. But I've had my first shot of the vaccine, and I was feeling a little bit rubbish for a few days, but I'm all right now. So I guess I'm just doing my own stuff to stay safe, and my team's pretty switched on as well, and keeping each other safe as well, which is great.
Well, you're both Auckland boys. You come from Auckland, and Auckland's home, so your mum and dad for both of you, will be pleased to see that you're alive and kicking and you're eating okay. And Peter will talk to your dad about the Speedo and the Lexus later on. But, you don't need a warrant in the States, so you're fine there. Culture-wise, how have you found it? Like, Indianapolis is not too bad a place to settle down in, really, is it, Billy?
Yeah, it's been, people have been very hospitable at the moment, which is cool. I was pretty shy when I first came here. I hadn't had my apartment yet, so it was that sort of first 2-week grace period where I was in the hotel room, not eating very well, but just trying to get used to and meet some people. But yeah, that was it was great. The other drivers on my team, they're a lot of fun as well. So they're showing me kind of what to do, driving to each other from the track, back to the track, eating dinner together. So it's been great, and it's got an awesome culture, which is really good, and it's definitely ultra competitive, but we're helping each other off the track, which is the main thing. So I feel like my driving's improved 200% since I got here, and that's just due to the people. So it's pretty cool to be in that kind of environment, and yeah, I can't wait for the rest of the season.
Peter, how have you found it, like, culturally too, at a race meeting? I know, from all the years I've been up there, it's quite different to, say, being at Hampton Downs or something like that, isn't it? The way the race meeting is conducted, it's on a much grandiose scale.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm very lucky to be, with a good group of people with my race team, and that's been extremely helpful for me settling in. But yeah, in terms of fans, it's really great how passionate they are, to be honest. They say hello to me all the time, and all the other USF drivers, even if they probably don't know our names, but all the fans are super passionate about the racing, and yeah, it's just really great. And there's plenty of them at the track, and it's quite amazing to see at the Indy GP and stuff just how many people there are passionate about the racing.
Well, it's a real shame that you won't get to see Indianapolis Motor Speedway fully packed in a couple of weeks' time, because it certainly is a phenomenal site. And over the 19 years that I was there, and hopefully there's another one coming maybe next year, it's a place that actually eats into you. And I never believed that from the word go, but you've both been there now, and you do get a sense of, I don't know, it's something when you drive down, Georgetown Road or 16th Street and pull into the Speedway or go through the tunnel for the first time, isn't it? It's a phenomenal feeling. Billy?
Yeah, definitely. I know in our track walk, just seeing how tall the grandstands were around you, and everywhere you looked, there was a grandstand, and you got the massive Tag Heuer building. So it was very cool. And like you said, going under the tunnel, and we were quite lucky. We have our passes, so we can get in and actually park underneath the track and get to the infield. But just seeing the sort of pedestrians and the fans trying to get into the track with the massive queues, and it was just I'm sitting and watching the Indy race, and even though it wasn't like packed by your standards, it was definitely packed by my standards. So I've got my ticket for the Indy 500 in a couple of weeks, so I'm pretty excited about that as well.
You had to rub it in, didn't you? I'm going to have to sit in bed and watch it and have my breakfast on a Monday morning. Dear me. Well, I've got the cat. How about that? For you guys too, Billy, obviously you've been in the single seater here with the Formula Ford, and in the tow with the TRS car. And Peter, you've come from sim racing to the SsangYong to a variety of cars. How do you find this F2000 car? I guess, Peter, for you first, it's probably the bigger transition of the two of you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still very new to single seaters for sure. Only doing about 8 races in TRS. So yeah, definitely a big learning curve, but the team's done a great job at getting me up to speed quickly and testing. And yeah, I think the setup's been really critical over here. It's important to know what you want from the car to go fast, and that's really what we've been working on with the team, doing lots of setup changes and seeing what does what to the car, and putting that, breaking that down and writing notes about what did what, so I can be faster for next time I'm on the track. But yeah, that's been super critical.
Billy, for you, with the Formula Ford here and then the TRS, both generations of the TRS car, how different is the F2000?
Yeah, it's definitely a different car. You've got less horsepower than the TRS car, and like Peter touched on, that setup is so critical. 2021, it's kind of been my first year of single seaters with wings and slicks. The Formula Ford and the Formula V, they were great classes, but now that I've done more and more sort of single wings cars, not necessarily, you kind of transitioning away from the concepts you learned in that, which is another pretty interesting thing, and it's taken me a little while, to be honest. It's one of those cars where the USF car, it's a tenth is massive. You've got the whole fields of 28 cars is within 8/10 or seconds, so you need every advantage you can get, and there's definitely different ways to get your lap time out of it as well. So Indy GP, there was a couple of corners that I was really strong, and we sort of it was a hard weekend for us as a team, which is by the team standards, a couple of 12ths and a 16th isn't too bad, but it would have been nice to get into the top 10 top 10 this weekend. So looking forward to the Oval. The car there, it's I've had one go, which was pretty cool. It's a fourth gear track. You don't change gears, so you're really focusing on the pedal. So you just got to maximize the tire, especially in qualifying, and that's just going to come down to getting temperature in it. So yeah, it's 28 cars, 75 laps. So it's going to be interesting, and I think by the end of that, I'm definitely going to know the car and how to drive left-hand corners. Yeah.
Yeah, I know from watching Hunter there too, the big thing with the big field is that you get into lap traffic, within probably 10 to 15 laps, and getting through back markers and things like that plays a very important part in that race. So, for both of you, it's going to be a steep curve, but it's a curve that's part of the road to Indy. And, Rinus VeeKay that won the Indy Grand Prix just yesterday, as a testimony to that, he won championships and all through the road to Indy series. So at the level that you're at, the next level, and then Indy Lights and on to IndyCar, and he's now a race winner in IndyCar. So I think, you guys would testify to the fact that the road to Indy series does provide this massive pathway for drivers, no matter where you come from in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even TRS is providing a good base to go into the road to Indy as well, and vice versa, going back from USF to TRS. It's been pretty cool, and of course having the support of the Kiwi Driver Fund to get into TRS also gave me that opportunity to really get involved in single seaters and get my passion for single seaters. So that helped make the step to USF as well. But yeah, certainly the Road to Indy program's great. It offers scholarships, so you can basically win your way through the ranks towards an IndyCar seat. So yeah, that's super critical for especially us Kiwis that generally don't have the same budgets and stuff like that. Yeah, it helps make the playing field a bit more level, which is really cool.
Just one other thing, because we're on the eve of the announcement of the 8 people that will go through the Elite Academy this year in Otago. So down in Dunedin in the first week of July, and rumoured to be snow. So you guys know that feeling. Just, I guess, Billy, we'll start with you, because it's very important for us. And as you know, I'm a trustee of the Academy. What would you say to those 8 that are going to get announced on Saturday night here?
I would say definitely enjoy it. That was the biggest thing. I know me being a sort of naive, I think 15-year-old, I took it very seriously. And looking back at it now, I would have just had a little bit more fun. But the stuff we learned that week, it's stuff it still resonates now. Like cooking for myself all the time. You're thinking about carbs, you're thinking about proteins, you're thinking about all this kind of stuff, and it's pretty cool to know that there's people that are really caring about the careers of future motor racers. And you've got the Elite Academy, you've got KDF. They're just great funds and great ways to sort of improve our drivers. And it's going to be really exciting in 5-10 years time to see who's where in the future of motorsport. But yeah, to the 8, it's have fun, try hard, and you're going to be very tired at the end of the 7 days.
Pete, what about you? What do you think of the time in the Academy? You were both there together in that camp year. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I had a great time. yeah, definitely make the most of, all the opportunities. There's plenty of different activities and, all sorts of areas. So, really, really cool opportunity. And, just get involved, focus, but of course, have fun as well. I mean, when I got into the academy, I hadn't actually had much racing experience. I got the Sanyong Youth Scholarship and been racing in that for a little bit and just had a few days in a Toyota 86. So racing was still very new to me, to be honest. And the Motorsport Academy gave me a great sort of foundation into all the areas that I need to work on. And, I'm still focusing on those bases today, the fitness and nutrition, the psychology, and of course the performance side of things. The academy's quite, I guess, holistic in the way they is that the right word? I think so. And the way they approach the academy. So definitely make the most of the opportunity, and don't forget to have fun for sure.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that as I said, as a trustee for the academy, and for the 8 that are going to be going to Dunedin with us in a few weeks from now. They're in for a bit of a shock, but we'll let them sort that out themselves. For you guys, just before we wrap up, a chance to probably say something to your fan base back home, because you don't often get to be able to talk directly to them like this in a forum, shall we say. So we might as well kick it off with you, Billy, and what would you like to say to people back here?
Just good morning, race fans of New Zealand. I'd just like to thank you guys. It's been very cool moving here, and I'm doing my best to stay in touch. That was one of my things that I really wanted to do is don't become irrelevant. So thanks for the support. Looking to hopefully get back to New Zealand in a month or so. We've got Lucas Oil, and we've got 2 more rounds after that, Road America and I think Mid Ohio, which are quite close to each other. And then I'm looking back to get New Zealand. So I can't wait to get back. A little bit homesick, I'm not going to lie. So see you soon. What
about you, Pete? Todd must be missing you back here.
Yeah, definitely. Todd's missing me. I'm, on the phone with Dad and Todd, who's for those that don't know, a big racing mentor of mine. I basically call him, my second dad, because he's, been there since the start with me. So, really miss the guys back at home. Everyone that supported me, got plenty of sponsors. Friends and family, of course, at home. So, really grateful for them helping out with the opportunity for me to be over here, and can't wait to see them when I'm back.
Well, Billy, you just mentioned it before, the fact that, this is the start of the next generation almost, and you two guys are there, Hunter's there as well. So you said something about in 5 years' time. So I guess in 5 years' time, when I'm still a wrinkly old journalist and I turn up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and you guys are both in Indy cars for the 500, will you buy us a cup of coffee?
Definitely. We can go out for burgers. We can go out for, there's plenty of options over here, which is great. So
unfortunately, there are a lot of options when it comes to bad food. That's for sure. Boys, I'll wrap it up now. I know you've both got busy nights ahead of you. All the very, very best for Lucas Oil. I know it's a hard track. Your first experience on an oval. Just make the most of it. Embrace it. Remember the fact that the championship is not won or lost in a single round. It's something that Hunter knows very well about. And, you've got a whole raft of tracks ahead of you this year, some phenomenal places like Road America. Just enjoy it. As a motorsport fan and as a trustee of the Elite Academy, extremely proud of both of you. You're doing an outstanding job. I get a thrill from watching your races online and checking out live timing and all these other things that I can see to try and keep an eye on both of you. And I'm sorry I'm not there. I'd love to be there with you, but we'll catch up again soon, and we'll do this whole show again, but we'll do it stateside as well. So for now, take the best of care, and thank you so much. Well, onwards to IndyCar now, and Indy Grand Prix, one of the first events held on the road course at Indianapolis, because of course the teams go back there in August of this year to run again, just like they did last year. One thing you can take away from Indy Grand Prix towards the 500, nothing applies at all. It's just the fact that it's at the same place, same venue, and the drivers get to stay in their motorhomes for an extra few days. But basically there's no takeaway factor from the 500 to the road course race. The road course itself is a genuine race course inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's not a toy track or anything like that. It is a legitimate track because there's just so much space there. You know, you've got an 18-hole golf course there as well. So there's plenty of space inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it's a pretty neat track. It's got a couple of very fast sections on it and some quite tight and twisty sections that require good car balance. So qualifying and practice and everything saw a real mixed bag of things going on. Scott Dixon suffering with diff and clutch issues within practice, and ultimately I think that impeded him a little bit when it came to qualifying. And for Dixon, it was very surprising to see him down in a low 16th position for starting the race and missing the fast six and everything. Big surprise, well, not a big surprise actually, it's becoming almost regular now. Scott McLaughlin inside the fast six, qualifying fifth. Outstanding job from McLaughlin again, just proving that he's really coming to terms with IndyCar and the investment that Roger has taken and putting him in Team Penske. Well and truly worth it, absolutely worth it. But the big surprise, well, no, not a big surprise really. He's a racer, but certainly it was a great surprise to see Romain Grosjean taking the pole position for the Indy Grand Prix. And through IndyCar Media, we're lucky enough to join the Zoom conferences on a daily basis, and we were able to talk to Romain after he qualified on pole.
Even through the last few years that have been tougher in terms of results, whenever I take the example of Germany last year, where I finished ninth. With the Haas car, that was quite special. And having Germany 2018 as well, we were like 12 after the last safety car, and I came back finishing 6th or something in the last 10 laps. That was quite cool. So, you know, even though you're not winning, you've got that feeling, but definitely there is a feeling that I had completely forgot about, is when you get to a race weekend and you've got those butterflies, because you know you can, you know, if you do everything right, you may end up on pole or trying to win the race. And that's definitely something that I had no chance to do over the last few years.
Well, so that was qualifying, and of course what comes after qualifying? The race. So, excuse me, the race itself, it almost delivered what you'd expect, and that was first corner pile-up. Not too bad a one, but we've seen it before in Indy Grand Prix. The run to that first corner is extremely tight, extremely fast, and the turn in as they turn to the right and then dogleg back to the left is pretty quick. I think Connor Daly checked up a little bit, and the impact of that was the fact that Scott Dixon got caught in it, Pagenaud got caught in it, because they both qualified poorly by their standards. And for Dixon, it kind of brought an early pit stop as well. I think the team did a very, very good job in playing that strategy out, because it enabled Dixon to ultimately finish ninth. And he also led a few laps within the race, so he picked up 1 point for being a lap leader. So that extra point come the end of the season could be very, very valuable indeed. So smart move by Mike Hull and the team to do that. A ninth for Dixon, yeah, not fantastic, but you know, he still holds the championship lead. And you know, stranger things have happened. Double points for the 500. Not a fan of those, as you well know, but we'll see how that evolves over the next 2 weeks or so. However, what it did produce was another first-time winner in IndyCar. 5 different winners this season from 4 different teams. 2 powerhouse teams with Andretti Autosport and Ganassi Racing having winners there. Then a smaller team or midfield team with Mclaren bringing Pagenaud home, and now Dale Coyne Racing, you know, showing that they're on the cusp of it with Grosjean. And then Ed Carpenter Racing delivering a race winner in Rinus VeeKay. And the thing about Rinus VeeKay, as I've said earlier on when we were talking to Billy and Peter, is the fact that the road to Indy works. And the reason I say that is Rinus VeeKay has won in USF 2000, Pro 2000, Indy Lights, and now IndyCar for Ed Carpenter Racing. And we got the chance to catch up with Rinus straight after the race.
Yeah, very unique that there's a scholarship system. It really prepares you. You know, you're always driving before the IndyCar in the same weekend, and you see the IndyCars going, you can see their races in real life, but you can also race on the tracks you're going to race in an IndyCar. So I have done many passes, many laps on this track before in all sorts of cars, and it definitely prepared me. Just, you know, I knew everything that could happen in every corner, every scenario, just because of the road to Indy. So very grateful that I had the opportunity to do that and be successful in the road to Indy. And show that if you can win the road to Indy, you can win an IndyCar race.
Romain, I've got a question for you, slightly a little bit off tangent here, but you're a driver that's experienced driver aids in Formula One and now in IndyCar. Push to pass versus DRS, how do the two compare in terms of what you can do as a driver?
If I'm being honest, I prefer push to pass because you can use it on different places and try to be clever about it. Whereas the DRS is just when you're within a second, you press the button, you open it, and it's few spots, and it's unlimited. Whereas the push to pass, you want to use it on key moment of the race, and that's more down to the driver to do it. And also the overtaking are normally a little bit more done later with push to pass, whereas the DRS, the difference of speed between cars is huge, and you can tell that sometimes the car just even come back on the racing line before the braking zone.
And then for the Dale Coyne team, it's a smaller team when you're competing against the powerhouses like Andretti, Ganassi, and Penske. How much has this weekend done for the team?
Everyone has been working super nicely. We've had a good car from the start here. Fine tune it, because here a couple of hundreds a lap can mean position going into segment 2 or 3 or fast 6, and so we just need to you just need to be spot on, and in that aspect it's been a great weekend. I think for the confidence of everyone has been boosted, I relied a lot on the engineers to do the best job they could, and they've done great.
Well, the other thing, Romain, you've already had a podium now in IndyCar, and you're really only a few races in your IndyCar career. What's the secret to this?
I don't know. I feel like it's a race car that I like driving. It feels like it's something quite similar to the GP2 that I drove back in 2011, and cars that I've always been competitive with. And I've got a really good group of people around me, starting with all the engineers at Dale Coyne Racing. Ed Jones, my teammate, really helping me a lot. And then, to be fair, Honda and Firestone have been great help as well, trying to get me up to speed and explaining to me what to do, what not to do. So I think that's how I could get it quite quickly. As a rookie, I'm lucky to do some extra days, of testing, which is always great. And also, those 10 years in Formula One, I've had to adapt to some very different cars. Very competitive and very terrible cars. And I think you actually, I'm not going to name the terrible ones.
No, I don't think you need to,
but you actually learn how to adapt and to change your driving style and to find around. I still think that sometimes I need to understand a little bit more how to go fast in IndyCar. So far it's been really helpful. Everyone has been really helpful, and I'm loving it.
Romain, I don't know if you could hear it, but we could certainly hear it within the television coverage. Fans were certainly cheering you on near the end of the race. Really mixed bag of emotions that you've been through.
I mean, if we do racing, it's because we obviously are racing fans, but also very competitor, and we wanna go at the front. We wanna fight for good position, to drink champagne on the podium and bring a nice trophy home. So I'm very happy. The first 2 races, we had some good pace with few technical issues that kind of slow us down, but generally, I love driving the car. Even at the warm-up this morning, my engineer says, you can pit to do some setup change. I'm like, no, I'm not pitting. I'm just happy to being out there and pushing and learning on the tires. So I'm having a great time. The whole atmosphere between the drivers, we're here with Alex and we're joking and having fun. And it is super competitive on track. But as soon as you remove your helmet, there's like a good friendship between the driver, which you surprisingly don't find anywhere else. And I love that part, and I'm having a blast of a time.
Well, great guy to talk to. Nice to see a smile on that man's face. If anything, he deserves it more than most after the events of Formula One in the last part of last year. So well done, Romain Grosjean. Well done, Dale Coyne Racing. Great to see a team like that back up there. Strange enough, the last person to win a race for Dale Coyne was a Frenchman by the name of Sébastien Bourdais. So there you go. Maybe he needs French drivers. Thanks once again to IndyCar Media, Kate Davis and the team helping us out, capturing drivers after the race. We got the chance to talk to Josef Newgarden, who came in fourth. Probably not a bad result for Newgarden. It's put him back in the championship hunt, which, you know, you can't count that out when you look at the last few years. It's been Dixon, Newgarden, Dixon, Newgarden, Dixon, Newgarden. So Josef back in there, and we caught up with him straight after the race in pit lane.
The Grand Prix here at Indianapolis. Pretty good run for us. We finished fourth. Even though it's a good run, it was a little disappointing. We felt like we had a winning car coming into this race, starting second. Just didn't pan out. We're a little shy on pace, but you know, still a very strong weekend for us. Felt like we've had, you know, a fast car right from Friday all the way through to today. Team Chevy has done such a good job for us. We think we have race-winning engines. Chevy won the race today, which is good, and it's a good sign for going into the 500. So I'm feeling super positive. It was great to have Snap-on the car. I loved the delivery. I thought it was super beautiful on track and great to represent one of our longest standing partners at Team Penske.
Well, never ever rule out Team Penske. That's all I can say. And in saying that, another driver from the Penske stable that did very well in the race, apart from Scott McLaughlin, was Simon Pagenaud. Pagenaud, a winner of the 500 just a few years ago. In fact, the last time the 500 had a crowd, he was the winner. But another driver on the improve, and this is where the season gets tough, and you start to see the strength of some of these guys come out. So we caught up with Simon as well.
P6 today at the Indy Grand Prix, really great day. Massive performance improvement on the Chevy Menards today. I'm very happy. Looking forward into the season. I think we're in a really good place. So six was really good today. Got hang up a little bit behind Scott midway through the race. Probably cost us a little bit more, but that's the race.
And then for Dixon, as we said, not probably the ideal race for him, but salvaged some points out of it and keeps in the championship hunt. And, you know, Dixie, he's one of those people, he'll be there come what may. We know that. And let's just hope that the 500 plays itself out well, because I'd dearly, dearly love to see him lift that bottle of milk for the second time. But we've got the chance once again to catch up with Scott in the pit lane straight after the race.
Really tough day, honestly. We got caught up in a bit of a hit in turn one, and then kind of ran wide, and unfortunately kind of dropped to the back there. So we decided to pit, try and get a little bit off sequence. Unfortunately, there was some confusion with me and the team too. We were going to try and eliminate a stop or go back to the 3 stop like everybody else. And unfortunately, we couldn't eliminate the stop. Really struggled on reds to keep the rear tyres under the car. Blacks at the end, we definitely jumped some spots there and ended up 9th. So decent recovery. Still leading the points, which is good, but obviously we need to qualify better, which will make our days a lot easier.
Then a man with a bit of character, because he has got a bit of character. I remember speaking with him in Melbourne of the Formula One days when he was both with Williams and with Mclaren. He's always been maybe slightly controversial as well. Certainly speaks his mind, which I think is great because it's better than being sanitised. Juan Pablo Montoya back with the Mclaren team for the 500, and I would definitely say, even when I'm recording this, which is before the first wheels turned at IMS, he will be in the hunt for the 500. Do not rule Montoya out. He came from the back of the field the year he last won the race, and it proves that you can do that. So Montoya not to be taken for granted during the rest of the month of May. However, for Indy Grand Prix, kind of really struggled, which was a bit what Josef Newgarden and Will had said when we talked to them last week. If you want to see that show again, they did mention that. But Montoya, it was great to catch up with him. And again, thanks to the IndyCar media team, we got the chance to see him and chat with him in his motorhome straight after the race.
This weekend was a difficult weekend. At the end of the weekend, we actually felt that my car was getting pretty competitive and the pace was getting pretty good. Just at the start of the race, the way we started the race was so far off. It's difficult because we did all the practice and everything on the one tire. I mean, today was a day that you race in reds, and my really first lap on reds was supposed to be before qualifying, and I spun on them, I flat potted them, so I did 4 laps in qualifying on those cars, and the next time I drove them were in the race. So made our day very long, very difficult. But as the day went on, I think we did really good changes, and we worked really well with the engineering and the strategy and everything together. We really kept on top of everything that was going on, and that made our day much, much easier.
Well, there you go. That just about wraps things up for another show. Great IndyCar focus this week. Really looking forward to seeing what happens at the 500. I think that we're in for a pretty special event now that it's back in May, different climate conditions to when they ran last year as well. So I think that is going to be a great race. 35 cars trying for 33 spots. 2 of them are going home this weekend. Will it be heartbreak? Of course it will. Will there be a surprise? You just don't know, because only 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, who would have expected that James Hinchcliffe wouldn't have made the race? So will we see a surprise this weekend on pole day? Yes, I think so. I think there will be one surprise, and I think there'll be one that you kind of would put in the, we knew they might not make it. So that will be very interesting to see how that plays out. Race Control Magazine Facebook page will be doing daily updates for the balance of the month of May on everything around the 500. So you can check us out on Facebook, Race Control Magazine. You'll find us there. And then, of course, if there are major events, then we'll do a special show, intending to do one after pole day with the pole sitter in the front row. That's already organised with IndyCar, so you'll see that come up as a Indy 500 special on all the normal platforms, which of course I know you're liking and subscribing to, and you'll catch up with all that IndyCar news. But until next week when I catch up with Bob again and we talk Formula One and all those other things, have a safe week. Be COVID safe no matter where in the world you are or where you're listening to this. It's not over yet, this COVID thing, far from it, so be very careful out there. Enjoy your motorsport. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen or watch the show today. Really do appreciate it. And on behalf of everyone associated with Racing World, thank you, take care, and we'll see you again next week.
Perspective Group is a leading media production company based in Auckland, New Zealand. Established in 2009 by former TVNZ producer David Turner, Perspective Group offers you a vast arrangement of media options to fit any size or budget. It covers truly global services